All right, man. We're getting there step by step. I think the next update, I'm going to have it fired up. Now, usually I don't get all worked up about just after repairs or just after modification fire ups, because usually it's people who put turbos on their cars. And yeah, if there's nothing really different about that to where it wouldn't fire up. But when you do like a full engine build or you do something like that, or in this case, where I had it down with the all the lifters, changing those out with that timing chain issue. We're going to put it in gear up on the lift and run it through the gears and make sure that all works out. So that's why it's kind of a trepidatious thing, I guess, to start it up after something like that, because I got it all pretty in here now, and I don't want to take it all apart. All right, farting around with these fuel lines. So like I said, I did the 180 turn. It's a -8 because the fitting coming off of that rail is a -8. And then I go down to a -6, which then connects to this -6, 45 degree. I thought it wasn't going to work then, and it didn't with the one fitting that I'd ordered. Remember, I'm trying to stay with the black and silver theme. Well, I'm not ordering no more fittings. I'm done. So I had this one. I got a bunch of these things, and this one just happened to be short enough here at this neck, because the black one that I'd bought had a long neck, and it ran it right into the bolt for the valve cover. Here, I'm going to clear the valve cover just. I mean, this thing, I don't have it tight yet, but I can move it up and down. You can see it clears the valve cover bolt there. So that's good. So getting these lines done, they're so much easier than they used to be because of this hose material. So I got this line. This one's going to come over here, and like I said, it has to come into the inlet on this side and then exit out on this side, and then it's going to run into this line here. Now I had to do a 90 or a 180 again. I'm sorry, I can't get my degrees right today. And this is going to feed right over here to this one. So in, return, in, return, back to return. So just measuring out the length of line I need to make all this happen, but we're close. All right, so it's all hooked up in there. I got my throttle cable on. Again, that's feed, goes there, return. Return goes down here into the inlet side of here. Fuel pressure will be augmented or played with here. Then the return goes back into the return line. They had the 90 back this way. I'll put a piece of rubber hose or something right here in case it wants to sit there and rub on that manifold like that, because it's not going to stay where I want it. So I might have to get some new fuel injection clamps, make sure those hold. But anyway, my main concern is the -8 180. I've got it as tight as I can get it, but if you look right there, I can't get a AN wrench or anything down there. I might be able to get like a regular wrench down in there to just kind of give it a little extra hit. So when I prime it, the day I start this thing, I'm gonna prime it and check to make sure. Obviously, you know, I'm gonna do a leak check, make sure I've got no fuel leakage, stuff like that. So what I've done to that transmission, of course, there's no fluid in it, so it's going to be kind of notchy. But remember I said I would report to you about how this shift tower modification, where you turn that, you flip that thing upside down or right side up. So you'll have to excuse the darkness because I have the car cover on this thing. But as I'd said, The guy promotes it as a short throw shift and things like that. Now again, it doesn't have any fluid in it. It's bone dry in there for the most part. So let's take that with a grain of salt. So it's in neutral. Okay. Clutch in. That's first, second, third, fourth, fifth, reverse. Real notchy. So the one thing on these Saturn shift cables is there's a bushing at the base. Yeah, that thing pops all the time. And I'm wondering how this is going to do when you're racing this thing and you're trying to get as quick a shifts as possible. Yeah, I may carry an extra set of bushings with me just in case, because I don't know. I don't know about that. But again, it feels probably a lot more notchier than what it would if it has fluid in it. So there's that. So, but it went through all the gears, but you're just gonna have to get used to the way it drives. But it does have, it is shorter. I don't know, just real notchy. So we'll see. All right, so I think I was telling you about that strut bar, the one that I wanted to use. The one I got from eBay, the $99 one, looks very promising. And the reason I say looks is because, as you can see, it barely clears, or just clears, the IAC. And this is the issue with the other one, is the way the other one rides. It rides right on top of that, and it can't have that. And you always got to think about the way the motor's torquing. So although these mounts are somewhat, they're not solid, they have the urethane bushings in there, and of course I put some window weld on the upper TAM and the lower transmission mount to keep flex down. You know, it's still going to move some. And so I looked and looked, and did I look for hours and hours? No, but I looked long enough to where I thought that if something was going to pop up, it would have, that was a straight up fit like was meant. And even if it was, even if I did find one that was the straight up fit one, I think I'd run into the same problem as that Progress one that I have, is this IAC motor. There was a company that I saw some thread on a forum that says that they were taking group buys, and they were making one that cleared people's, if they were using the Geostorm throttle body, because they knew the situation and they were making one to avoid it. So I got this one from, I don't know what this is off of. If you know, you can put in the comments below. But the way it sits on here, this is not for a Saturn, obviously. I mean, could it be for a Saturn Sky or something? I don't know, but it was listed as for S series, like for using on S series cars. And I saw the picture and I knew right away that it wasn't, but he showed it sitting on there, and it shows that it did clear, and it was able to, you know, as long as these bolt holes matched up. And what I planned to do when I was envisioning in my mind, I'm just going to basically take this, I'm going to notch it, I'm going to take this bolt hole off, and then I'm going to take this piece off and use that as like a template over here. So I'm going to move this over to here, and then I'm going to take some, I don't know, stock metal and just make a tab that stretches from here over to here. And then that'll give, you know, then I'll have the structure, because most of them do just mount with these two bolts here anyway. And I'll use some pretty thick stock. It'll have to look pretty decent. And instead of painting it the color of the body, I think I'll just clean it up real well, sand it, and give it a good black coating. So that'll help contrast the black of the theme there, you know, instead of it just being the body color like the other Progressive one, or Progress Group one. So that's my plan with this. But although this one I mean, if we take it and we put it on this inner hole, if we try to put it on the inner hole to get this tab closer to where it's more of, you know, less, of course it runs into the IAC motor. So you see it hit the IAC. So we're going to have to use these outer bolts. But the good news is, at least it fits. Now the only other issue I'm kind of showing up here, and I may be able to avoid that by putting some spacer washers under here, just get it up just a little bit. The PCV. You see, if I can get it off that just up a little bit, it should be okay. Now, here's the sad part. I don't know if this is going to fit with the hood on. I think it will, because the other, that Progress bracket, if it wasn't for that throttle body right there, then it would be up as high as I show it to be up right here, and the hood still closes okay, because I had it on another car that I had in the past. So it'll work. So I think this will be fine. I won't know until I go through the work on it, but such is the case when you're doing these Saturns. You know, some of it's going to be trial and error, and this costs 99 bucks. Pretty strong. It's not heavy at all. It's very light. Of course, this is hollow. This is a hollow piece. It's pretty light, and I think I can make it work and look really good once I'm done with it. The valve cover is quote unquote on. I was just test fitting this gasket, making sure, and I say test fitting, this is, you know, back in the day, Saturn, when they sold you a gasket for this, it was actually like a big piece of plastic, as big as this valve cover, and at the factory they would take, and I guess with a machine, lay out a bead of silicone all the way around, and of course the bolt hole, the spark plug tubes, and that's how you could buy it. And because the alternative was to get you a tube of sealer, and just like you would, you know, use some RTV and go around all the holes and stuff like that. But it's a nightmare to clean on these things. I hate it. It's one of the things that I hated to do in the past. And so then Felpro came out with this one. It's rubber, and the choice is you can either set it on the head and then put the valve cover down, or you can put it on the valve cover, then put it on top of the cylinder head. But either way you do it, there's a chance that it's going to move around and cause you some issues. If you look close, you see these tabs right here. They're supposed to go on the cylinder head, and that's what kind of centers and puts it where it needs to be. But as you can see, this one, it's kind of off. So what I'm going to do, and what I did the last time I used one of these gaskets, is I just used some of this. It's a 3M spray trim adhesive, and it's clear, and you don't need a whole lot. That's the part number 08074. So what I would do is just turn the valve cover over, spray some around the perimeter of the valve cover and around the holes, and just lightly, because you're just wanting to use it as kind of like a short-term tack to keep the gasket on, and it holds really well. But it doesn't compromise the sealing ability, like it doesn't degrade the rubber, it doesn't do something like that, because that's trim adhesive, which a lot of the times it's adhesing stuff inside the car. It's plastics, it's rubber, it's stuff like that. So it's meant to become in contact with these kind of materials. Some people will try to just use enough silicone RTV around, you know, kind of, you know, I guess it works for them, but it's so easy to just turn this thing over and just spray around so that it'll grab. And the last one I had on here on that red valve cover sealed like a charm, and that valve, the Felpro gasket. So it's easy. You guys know, you should know, when you do the gasket, before you put the blue gasket down, right here where the timing cover and that cylinder head come together, right there inside, you're going to put just a small bead of RTV on both sides, on the other side over here and then here. Then you put the valve cover down. But one thing, and I meant to tell you guys this, when I did use that sandblaster to get this paint off for a large portion of the job. You're going to want to make sure, because inside here you've got your baffles for the PCV system and the fresh air vent. Man, make sure you get all the sand out of there. Now, before I put this on here like this, nothing was coming out to a large degree anymore. But I noticed when I had it on the workbench over here, and I actually lifted it up and kind of dropped it for a second. When I lifted it back up, there was a lot of sand laying on my bench top. And man, you don't want to forget the step of thoroughly cleaning all that sand out before you put this thing on your car. If you're going to use any kind of sandblast or stuff like that. So I've got to take it back off of here, and I'm going to go wash it out real good, blow it out real good until I'm confident that that thing is good to go. So don't want nothing like that. One thing too, right here, this bracket, it's meant to hold the AC compressor on this side. There's a Dorman, D-O-R-M-A-N part that it's a bracket and a bearing with a pulley that's meant to kind of fit up on here in these bolt hole locations that allows you to run the same belt that you would run for a AC car that doesn't have AC. So if you run into a problem of not being able to find a belt without AC and you don't have an AC compressor, then you can get your regular belt that you would get for a vehicle that has AC and just put on that bracket with that pulley, and then it runs just like as if you had an AC compressor on there. Speaking of AC, got the AC compressor in, of course. But at this stage of the game, with this age of a car that's not made anymore, beggars can't be choosers. There's a lot of remans out there, and if you know your remans, at least from the compressor I took off of here, this is how it is. I mean, it's not, if you're a show car guy, you pop your hood, they literally just spray paint the whole darn thing. They'll spray paint the connector, the bracket for the connector. Everything's just covered in paint. I mean, it's pretty sad, and everything's all just painted up, and so it's not going to look good, and the paint's not very resilient. So I think some of this paint's missing because I had to spray with some brake clean, and of course off comes the paint with it. And because I think I was looking for a dye leak when I was looking for a loss of freon issue, and I sprayed some brake clean on here to get the dye off so that I could look a second time to see if it was still leaking, and of course all the paint started coming off. But so yeah, this is about all you got out there. It's just rebuilt pieces that are hastily spray painted, and it doesn't look really good. However, I did find this one right here. It's by a company called UAC, which is fairly popular in AC parts. I haven't seen any new ones, but I did find one on Rock Auto. And the thing with Rock Auto is, yes, you can find a lot of stuff. I'm in automotive repair business, and so I got a lot of vendors that I'm able to source for parts. But I couldn't find any except the rebuilt ones. And I'm kind of down on using the rebuilt stuff for AC compressors as far as for like Saturns. I don't have a lot of good results from them. But so this is a new one. This is new and made in China. So I don't have a lot of confidence that it's gonna last me any longer. Maybe the rebuilt one was, but at least it looks a lot better. So at least I won't be worrying about how it looks for that length of time. So I did put in the application 97 SC2 and so forth. And this is actually, like I said, an SC1 that I put a dual overhead cam in. However, the beauty with the Saturns, whether it was single or dual overhead cam, the AC systems were pretty much the same. The hoses were pretty much the same. The dryers, expansion valves, all that stuff. So Saturn didn't really try to reinvent the wheel from engine to engine. So, however, I'm not sure why, but like I said, either this compressor is not the exact one that it should be, or this one is, I'm not sure. But what I do know is the clutch hubs look a little different. And so over the years, Saturn did change some of that stuff. And you can see this one, although it looks like the pulleys would line up here and everything else seems to be, it just looks like the hubs are different. Now, whether they had to go that way or maybe they did their own little design change on it, I'm not sure. But so this is just the different hub that I'm seeing. Now this one, this product here, I can't make that out. It's called Unidamp. Yeah. So there's a good chance this might be closer to what actually should have been on there. I'm not sure. But it's a new compressor. And so we'll have this pretty little thing sitting up in there and we'll enjoy it as long as it'll let us enjoy it. The connections look the same. Of course, the ears, the mounting ears, the hose locations, of course, are clocked the same. Yeah. The difference I see here too is on the end here. You can see it's got this part right here, but it's not over here. It's like there's a redesign of some type on it. I am not sure, but we are going to make a run for the border on it. We're going to see what happens. Like I said, it's made by UAC, which is made in China. I'm not sure exactly, I don't think it's going to be a wasted effort. I think just where some stuff should be, it ain't, and some stuff is, it wasn't. So we'll see. New hose injection clamps or fuel injection. You need to use these if you're going to make fuel injection hose connections. If you're using like just some the flare, not the flared, but the fluted ends that you basically slide the hose over and it's got the ribs. With fuel injection, obviously, and particularly in my case, where we're using the Veggie fuel pressure regulator. I think I said in previous videos that the fuel pressure that I was seeing, because I would actually hook up a gauge here, run it up, tape it to my windshield, and drive around and watch it. I was getting 80 psi, 90 psi. I mean, more than what you should really want to be running. And I did always have concerns about these plastic lines because the feed line has metal portions to it, but then it also has plastic portions and things like that. And toward the end, before I did all of this, where I pulled everything to do the engine bay paint, I was starting to I could have swore I smelled fuel here and there, but I could never see a leak. I didn't know if it was coming from the injectors or anywhere. I never saw it. So that was always a concern, and that was actually the impetus for me putting a fire extinguisher in the floorboard on the passenger side, because man, I don't want to be a bonfire on the side of the road. So anyway, so these are the ones I've had on here. I've been rocking these fuel injection clamps for years. So this thing's always worked. Veggie's been a good thing for me. Actually, Veggie, the company itself, his son has taken it over, and they have a new one. Same deal, same. I suspect the way it operates and all that. They've got a new design, and I'm going to end up probably sending this to them to have it rebuilt just for safety sakes, and just freshen it up like you would anything else. But these have a lot of different sizes in it, and it tells you the size on the back to use. So make sure you use the right size. And for our final bit of show and tell, this is the old, I say the old, vacuum log. This was a check valve that I had on. This one would actually go to the evap purge solenoid, but I think I'm going to just let that vent to atmosphere. Just kind of run a hose down lower. It's fuel That might have been possibly what I was smelling. I mean, that's possible. But this is the older one, and the reason I'm getting this one's, just the length of it and stuff like that. It's just hard to kind of put it somewhere where it's going to be out of the way and look half decent. So I ended up buying this one. This has, I think I was using 5 ports off here, but I can manage with just the 4. But this one here allows you to run it this way. You can take this block off to where these will shoot up, down. It gives you a lot more variety than what this one does. And I'm thinking I'm going to mount it. If it doesn't get in the way, I can do the main feed coming in either hole on this end, and then of course the 4 ports, or I can have the main feed come in on just one side and I still have 5 ports to use like I did on this one here. This one I had blocked off, so I think I was using this one and these 4. My thoughts are that I can probably use it where the bracket that you would normally put for the engine lift, where you're going to pull the engine, maybe set it, use that bolt hole, and as long as it doesn't interfere, this bolt, there's 2 bolt holes down here, use the lower one, and then all these shoot out toward the firewall and down below, and then I can have a 90-degree feed here that is coming in from, I think I'm going to tee off on the brake booster vacuum signal. It's a large hose, and that'll leave me free up here so I don't have this long, I mean, if you noticed, it was all like just gobbed up with hoses and stuff like that. And so the trick will be when I have the tubing on here, as it comes around, there's the blow-off valve down here. I don't think it's going to interfere with it, actually. So that's my goal. I think I'm going to put it down there and let it ride. That's a good spot for it, I believe. Next up after that is I got the tail lights on here. These are these are a lot better than what I had. The other ones, these were almost sun faded out clear almost on the other ones, and they had a lot of little bitty surface cracks and things like that. This is much better than what I had. And then of course this one on this side, same scenario. Oddly enough, I found that one on eBay, and this one I got from Saturn Salvage in Kentucky. They're shutting down, so if you want something from them, you better go ahead and try to get it from them pretty quick, because they're not going to be around for too much longer. They got tons of engines, tons of transmissions. Yeah, see, and I might go ahead and get that piece from them for this, because you can see this is sun faded as well, and all these little cracks in here. So yeah, I think I'm gonna get that one. I've actually seen some of these on eBay, but I think I'm gonna support Saturn Salvage and get it from them instead. This black part right here, the wrapper, thought it would be a good idea to put that on there. I don't like it. So when he comes, he wants to redo the front for some reason. When he comes to do that, I'm having him pull that off. I don't like that. And this seal down here, this Wings West kit, I've had this for years. So when I bought some new tape, and so I'm going to have to take this off just a little bit, and I'm going to put a section of tape from here all the way over, and that fresh tape should hold really well. I don't think I'll have an issue with that. Same thing on the front, by the way. These lights, you're going to have an equally hard time finding these lights. These aren't too bad. I'm going to actually do my little cleaning process on them that I do. I've done my wife's, I've done my daughter's, I've done my son's, and they look brand new once I'm done. I use that 3M buffing. There's like 3 different grits of discs, and then you use a polish, and they do literally look brand new after they're done. And this, I'm going to hit the top here too, and I'm going to do them while they're off. They make such a mess though. I'm going to have to just lay out some plastic covers or something. I might just put this in a vise and just kind of hold it. These used to wobble quite a bit, and I ended up using some epoxy on them. They were cracked, and so at a stoplight you'd watch your light sit there and just, shimmer like that, and it was kind of, But and I think I did a repair on these. I'll clean these up real good. And I thought I did a repair on these too, but it must just been on that there. So yeah, a little bit by little bit. Okay, as you can see, I've sprayed this stuff down all over here and got it all sitting there. You can see you're not going to be able to avoid getting some on your fingers, obviously, and some on this side of the gasket. But then you just take some brake cleaner with like a rag, and you just lightly go across it, and it'll take all that residue off. It's just, it'll get tacky enough to hold it on there pretty good. And you're just going to do it, kind of eyeball it, make sure it gets in there. And then when you set it down on there, you're looking to make sure these tabs are sticking out. You'll want to use like a mirror on the opposite side in between the intake manifold and the valve cover to make sure that they're sitting on that side. And it's pretty easy. It's holding it really well. It doesn't want to come up off here right now. So when I turn it upside down to put it on the engine, it's going to work out real well. So if you don't know, the cylinder head cam cover, that's the torque sequence, and the torque spec is 89 inch-pounds, okay? So torque sequence, there's an intake side and exhaust side, obviously, and then the torque spec. All right, every now and then I do something that makes some sense. So with this snorkel on here, or this part here where the blow-off valve's at, you can see down in here that using that bolt and kind of cantering to that side is going to give me enough room. This top port right here, I'm in a 90. These are 1/4 inch MPTs, and of course it's got the 4 on the face facing back toward the firewall. Then it's got the 1 at the bottom that will also be a 90, and I'm trying to get a 1/4 inch to 5/8 so I can tee into that brake booster line right there to give it vacuum, obviously. The check valve's right there, so it doesn't, I can tee in anywhere in that line and it's not going to cause any, check issues or anything like that. It's getting kind of convoluted down here with all these wires and all this other junk, but it is what it is. So yeah, so goal here is to, I am going to wrap these with the gold material. Rubber, it's not going to generate that much heat. Ain't got to worry about that. I wish I was able to weld aluminum, because then I'd have just one straight pipe instead of all these clamps and couplers, but I can't. And I don't want to pay someone to do it. So there's this section right here. And then there's these 2 sections right here. And then that's all I'm going to gold cover. I would be embarrassed to show you this if I claimed to be a good welder and a good fabricator. So this is what I was talking about doing. Now I've yet to cut off this section over here. I'm just going to do like that, like make a curve. And then, so that's what I wanted to do, was give it that structural, just a little bit, 2 connection points instead of just the 1. I guess I could put like a gusset or something right here, from here to here, but I don't think it's going to be needed. So once I put some paint on here, it shouldn't be too bad. I've been trying to grind it down a little bit and smooth it out. But yeah, that's what I wanted to do right there. And it does fit. And it is just going to miss the PCV once it's bolted on there. Sorry, camera angle's off. So it will miss just a little bit. All right, step by step. So yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That other bolt hole's gone, and it's curved down, curved, and then back over. And I think that ought to do it. Yep. And it's like that on both sides, obviously. All right, let's kind of clean it up a little bit more and put some paint on this pig. So this is that rail, that log, of course, is going to be mounted like this. So we'll have a port down here and a port up here left over. This is for the new boost gauge. So that's the harness for it right there. And of course it'll be done like that and then teetered down to clear the pipe and the blow-off valve and stuff like that. So all I really need at this point, I just need a 90-degree 1/4 inch NPT fitting here, and a 90-degree 1/4 inch NPT, but it needs to have the flares on it like this, so I can hook it up to the T that I'm going to be running in the brake booster line. So I got to get online and see where I can find one of those. This one is pretty cool because I got the reducer. I had all these actually. I didn't think I did, so I ordered some. So I'll just return those. But so this has turned out to be pretty good, the way it's mounting and clearing and all that good stuff. One less problem. Well, as they say, beggars can't be choosers, and we get what we're able to. So this is it. I put it on. I won't be able to tighten it down until I get it down all the way. That's how you're supposed to tighten these things. But so that's pretty much it in a nutshell. Yeah, it don't look too bad. But it is what it is. Let's just hope the hood don't hit it now. What a waste. What a waste of time that would be. Anyway. All right. So moving on. All right. So like I said, that's going to be next update should be the startup. Very, very close. The final stretch. And then after that, we're going to drive it some. My son's going to drive it while I tune it once I get the Det 3 on there. He's looking forward to that, I'm sure. So am I. But I'll get that portion done. So we're very, very close to being ready to call it done. Then I can move on to some other stuff.